In the race between thought and expression, my mind always seems to be a few strides ahead. As I run, each step echoes with the beats of fleeting thoughts, ideas about who I am, who I want to be. This path I'm on, it winds and twists, much like the years of high school behind me. I've always been in motion, from one activity to the next, from one role to another, trying to get somewhere, be someone, stay perfect. I kept moving because I thought slowing down meant failure. I put my worth and my actions in. It was never enough. And while I ran, I kept everything on display, polished, pretty, perfect. Each version of me designed to be admired, approved of, applauded. I curated myself like a gallery, neat, inspiring, untouchable, worthy of being remembered. Eager to go faster, my thoughts dash forward, each one racing to a new horizon. So try and keep up. The journey's just begun.
Hi! Starting at Oakland Early College was an interesting experience for me. I didn't go to my home school districts, West Bloomfield High School or Bloomfield Hills High School, so I was at somewhere completely new that nobody knew about. Oakland Early College. No familiar faces. I also wasn't very good with texting back then, so I lost most of my middle school friends. But slowly I found pieces of myself. I joined cinema club, I made a few friends, which was one of my first mini friend groups that I was a part of. I used to be really quiet in middle school, so I learned that being loud was maybe a bit more fun than being quiet. Just the year before, I made the craziest switch from engineering to filming. I did robotics for 4 years, but my true passion was making videos. I used to make projects in middle school, and it was so much fun.
What kind of Jew doesn't know where they came from? We will be out of slavery once again! Hurrah!
So pursuing it in high school, I loved it so much. I loved the process so much. I did my first digital film, Dirt. It was bad, but it was mine. I also started a slime business, Meow Slimes. I got money, I gained followers, but once it became public to the people I knew, I got embarrassed. I don't regret it though, because I learned a lot about the fundamentals of running a business at an early age. That summer I also got my first job at a bakery. I learned so much about discipline and to speak up, literally, because I had to be told constantly to speak up because they could not hear me. Sophomore year, I started gaining traction. We were in school every day, so I joined more clubs, talking to more people, gaining more responsibilities. I had this other friend group of newer students along with my friends from freshman year, but with these new friends, we were close. We were FaceTiming almost every night for the first semester, and while also still talking to my friends from freshman year, it was the most outgoing I had ever been in my entire life. I became louder and more expressive, but I also became more dependent on others to validate me, to feel seen. I also started my first relationship, and I mistakenly put all of my emotions into that. I didn't know how to balance loving others and loving myself, so when things fell apart, so did I. That year also started with my cat Autumn dying. I don't even know why, but I blame myself. I didn't give myself the time to actually grieve her, and I spent the next 2 years dwelling on it and not giving myself an actual chance to forgive myself. But we got a new kitten. Her name is Star, and she's so cute. We love her. My hair. It always wasn't the best. So when my mom took me to a hairstylist, she cut it into a longer form of a pixie. I cried so hard. I hated it. I hated how I looked. This was the first time I'd ever been self-conscious about myself, and so much was happening. I hated myself. So throughout 10th to early 12th grade year, I had some very awful hair stages that we don't need to speak out loud. But I eventually learned how to take care of my hair properly. That year was filled with many losses. My cat, my friends, my relationship, my confidence. But I was pretending it wasn't happening. I performed like a statue on display. Academically, I was doing pretty well. I was elected as student government secretary for the following year. I won a departmental award for science. I also was doing tennis from 6th up until 10th grade, but I gave it up because it was such a large time commitment. That was the first time I'd given up something that I loved so much for something that wasn't nearly as important. But I still devoted time to things that I love, like filmmaking. That year, I made my first film that I actually was proud of, Miss Popular.
Good luck, everyone.
Kim begins to cough directly in my mouth.
Good job.
Is the new Miss Popular. Oh my god. Whoa. Cannot believe this. Such a blessing. Wow. Thank you.
No.
I also started learning more about the cultures around me, and not through textbooks, but through the people that I loved. One of my closest friends then and now, Khadija, helped me tremendously. I also began to spend more time learning Spanish on my own. I took classes from kindergarten up until 10th grade, and it was a part of my life. So I changed my phone to Spanish. I started listening to music, watching TV shows. I wanted to immerse myself in that life since I didn't want to lose it. The more I took on, the more I gave away. My time, my energy, my peace. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know I was allowed to. You can't pour from an empty cup, yet I tried continuously. I emptied myself for people who never asked me to, hoping maybe they'd see me clearly that way. It became expected of me at a point, so I polished myself to a version that people expected me of, even when I was tired, even when I wasn't okay. Freshman and sophomore year, I wasn't building myself. I was building a display. And I didn't even know it then, but I was tired of being a statue. By junior year, my display had become elaborate into its own museum. I was volunteering, organizing student government and other clubs, filming, competing for HOSA, crocheting, always doing more. Junior year, I was elected secretary of student government, a high role with high responsibility. We planned the student events, made flyers, and fundraisers. This is where I got my first taste in leadership. I learned that leadership isn't about being seen, but really it meant being responsible for things no one saw. It taught me that leadership isn't about control, it's about service. It's about showing up with a smile even when you don't want to. After my slime business ended, I picked up a crochet hook. What started as a hobby became Pinky Promises. At first, it was just something to do with my hands, and then it helped me slow down. It helped me feel productive in a way that didn't feel performative. But eventually, it became a business. I sold at art fairs, I sold to my friends and online. It's just something that I love to do. Another hobby that I love so much is playing my guitar. I picked up a guitar first in April of 2024, and I've always loved music, but have never actually done anything to perform. Learning the guitar taught me patience. Even though I'm not a pro, I still can play some of my favorite songs. Along with student government, I was also involved in HOSA. We competed for 3 years. This was the best we got, second place, but it's okay. We were able to learn more about topics in mental health, fentanyl, Alzheimer's, by making a public service announcement for the competition and show it to our school. We were able to film, edit, and direct these public service announcements that got us to the state competition for the past 3 years. It's been one of the best joys of my life. I also joined several other clubs, such as Black Culture Club, Future Innovators in Business and Design, and I got a few awards. I received the Cornerstone Award for Service. It was a high honor for me, as I was able to watch my former classmates receive this award as well, and I looked up to them, and being able to receive it myself was
honestly a big accomplishment for me. As mentioned, I received the Departmental Award for Science and Math and certificates of honors for Oakland Valley College. I also received the Platinum Donor status for the 5K charity walk. I enjoy participating in clubs and participating with my school. I also love filmmaking. This was my third big film I was able to shoot. It took weeks and months of preparation, 2 weeks of shooting, and I was exhausted, but it was worth it.
He was kind of yelling.
Why was he yelling?
I don't know, but they kept tossing the ball around.
It came from his lungs, Val. He was exposed to a toxic gas. In vapor form.
But he doesn't vape.
I'm gonna shut up.
I learned that stress isn't always a red flag, it's just a growing pain of doing something important. Getting a license and a car changed everything. I had independence, I had freedom, I was able to drive anywhere I wanted with my friends. I began a relationship and I was just having so much fun. Being able to go to homecoming, dances. I also used my new car to be able to drive and volunteer with a cat care center to take care of cats. I also work in a senior living home, in the restaurant, working with residents and my friends.
Why y'all prisoner?
And simultaneously working as an office assistant at a car restoration shop. With my jobs and friends, I was having so much fun. But all good things come to an end. Therapy started in 10th grade, but it was 12th where I needed it the most. I started to learn how my mind worked. Obsess, spiral, overthink. OCD doesn't always look like cleanliness. Sometimes it's like fear that never stops talking. My friend group senior year meant the world to me until it didn't. There was so much chaos, yet so much love. It was so confusing, but I love them dearly. It just turned into me being the fixer, peacemaker, therapist. It took a toll on my mental health and being able to keep up with my tasks. I put my all into them and I lost everything in return. I finally had to walk away from my friends once the chaos started pointing towards me. And I was dealing with the loss of almost a 2-year relationship. There wasn't love anymore. It was just the comfort of having someone near me. Breaking up was a quiet relief of letting go of something that wasn't helping me grow. Because of the situation I put myself in, I let all of the responsibilities fall. They say you become most like the 5 people you spend your most time with, and unintentionally, they led me astray. At this point in my life, I still thought I could control everything. I had my museum out on display, but little did everybody know that there is a closet full of the deepest, darkest terrors of my life. Since the beginning of 10th grade, I found myself in the same cycle, having new friends, loving them too much, and not loving myself enough. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And I wasn't changing. I was running harder in the same circle. Finally, we have
Can you believe it? Like, it's actually over now.
I know, right?
Like, we're grown.
It's over. It's over. So I've come to an end of my 13th grade year. I realize everything I've built for others to admire suddenly feels hollow. Like a gallery without a soul. I worked so hard for fulfillment and purpose in my soul that I was looking in the wrong places. That missing exhibit, that space I could never fill, it wasn't more achievement, it wasn't perfection, it was peace. And I only found it when I stopped trying to build it myself and found my faith. At the beginning of 2024, I stopped chasing the applause and finally listened to the silence. He was there offering peace for my heart that I searched for in everything but Jesus Christ. I started going to church, joined a youth group, became a part of the worship team, and for the first time in forever, I didn't have to earn love. It was already there, waiting for me to accept it. 13th grade has been hard with the mounds of responsibilities I've had to complete, but for my personal development, it has been the best year of my life. My new friends, Tori, Faith, Anderson, Rebecca, Emily, everyone from church, they love me for who I am. They didn't want me for what I did, accomplished. It wasn't performative, it was grounded. I toured over a dozen colleges, made a list of over 40, but when I toured Wheaton, something just clicked. It felt right, felt like home. So I dropped every other plan and chose peace. 13th grade has been hard, but it's been the most healing. I stopped running from the cracks in the glass and let the light shine through them.
Now I run differently. I run slower, truer. Not for the crowd, not to be admired, just for me. I spent years performing behind the glass, clear enough to be seen, but thick enough to keep me untouched. Somewhere along the way, I forgot there was a life worth living on the other side of the glass, between who I was and who I pretended to be.
When the clouds will iron out, the monsters creep into your house. Every door is hard to close. Well, I hope you know how proud I am you were created.
Like, it's over, like, it's...
I did it perfectly!
Who did that?
Everybody come to our Zumba class.
And now it's on me.
This is a very deep scene right now. Hi. You're looking at one camera.
I'm locked in, bro.
You're locked in.
What are you doing? We used to be in
That
the
was
back
a
in the day.
perfect.
You good, bro?
No, man.
What's wrong, man?
Maddie's leaving.
I don't care.